The moon hangs like a splinter, cold and white.
Deep in the forests of North America, there are stories of something moving between the trees.
Shadows stretch where I pass, forgotten name whispered on the breeze.
Something tall and something powerful.
Through endless seas of ancient grass, I walk beneath the weeping trees, a giant ghost in discreet, seen only in a fleeting, fearful gaze. Lost to the world, lost to the light.
They call it Bigfoot. But the real question is, are these simply stories told around campfires? Or could something unknown still be hiding in the forests of North America? Welcome back to the Beyond Haunted UK podcast. As a reminder, our episodes are best experienced listening with headphones. Today we're exploring one of the most famous mysteries in modern folklore. A creature that has fascinated people for generations. Bigfoot, also known as Sasquatch. For some people, the idea of Bigfoot is nothing more than a myth. A creature born from imagination and storytelling. But for others, Bigfoot is very real, because thousands of people claim they have seen it. Witnesses from across North America describe the same thing. A tall figure covered in dark hair, walking upright through the forest, before disappearing silently into the trees. Tonight we're exploring where the legend began, the stories that shaped the mystery, and the evidence that continues to divide believers and skeptics alike. Long before the name Bigfoot existed, stories of large human-like beings living in the wilderness were already part of North American folklore. Many indigenous communities spoke of powerful creatures living deep in the forests. Beings rarely seen, but deeply connected to the natural world. One of the names associated with these stories is Sasquatch. The word comes from the people of British Columbia, part of the Coast Salish indigenous communities. But these stories were not always about monsters. Sometimes these beings were described as guardians of the forest, sometimes as spiritual figures, and sometimes simply as mysterious creatures that prefer to remain hidden from humans. These traditions existed long before documentaries, before internet videos, before paranormal television, which raises an interesting possibility. Did modern culture invent Bigfoot? Or did it simply reshape a much older story? The modern Bigfoot legend really began in the late 1950s in Northern Carolina, at a remote logging site surrounded by dense forest. Workers there began discovering enormous footprints appearing in the mud around their equipment. The tracks were unlike anything they had seen before, around 16 inches long, and far larger than a human footprint. At first they assumed someone was playing a prank, but the tracks kept appearing, sometimes overnight, sometimes along the logging rows used by the heavy machinery. One of the workers, Jerry Crew, eventually made plaster casts of the footprints. When photographs of the tracks reached local newspapers, the mysterious creature was given a new name: Bigfoot. Once the story reached the media, the legend spread rapidly. Newspapers printed photographs of the giant footprints, and suddenly people began reporting their own encounters. Hunters described hearing heavy footsteps moving through the forest at night. Campers spoke of strange screams echoing through the mountains. Some witnesses claimed they saw a large figure watching them from the trees. They said it was tall, covered in hair, and moving silently through the wilderness. Many people dismissed the reports as exaggeration, but the sightings continued and the legend grew. In 1967, something happened that would change the Bigfoot story forever. Two men named Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin travelled to Bluff Creek in Northern Carolina. They were searching for evidence of Bigfoot. The area had already produced several footprint discoveries, but what they claimed to capture that day would be one of the most famous pieces of paranormal footage ever recorded. According to Patterson and Gimlin, as they rode through the forest on horseback, they suddenly saw a large figure walking across a dry creek bed. The creature appeared to be covered in dark hair, standing upright, and nearly 7 feet tall. Patterson quickly grabbed a handheld camera and began filming. The footage shows the creature walking across the clearing before briefly turning toward the camera, and then disappearing back into the forest. The film lasts less than a minute, but it has been analysed for decades. Some researchers believe the creature's movement looks too natural to be a man in a costume. Others insist the footage is nothing more than an elaborate hoax. More than 50 years later, the debate continues. While many sightings involve brief glimpses, some stories are far more unsettling. One of the most famous is known as the Ape Canyon incident. In 1924, a group of gold prospectors were working in a remote canyon near Mount St. Helens in Washington state. One evening, one of the men claimed he saw a large ape-like creature watching their cabin. Later that night, the men reported that several creatures surrounded the building. They described rocks being thrown against the walls and roof, as if something was trying to break inside. The attack lasted for hours. The prospectors fled the canyon the following morning. No explanation was ever proven, but the location would later become known as Ape Canyon. Another strange story emerged in British Columbia. A man named Albert Ostman claimed he was abducted by a family of Sasquatch while camping in the wilderness. According to his account, he woke during the night to find himself being carried through the forest. When he regained awareness, he said he was surrounded by 4 large creatures, 2 adults and 2 younger ones. Ostman claimed he was held for several days before eventually escaping. Most people dismiss the story as impossible, but it remains one of the strangest claims ever associated with the Bigfoot legend. For decades, researchers have searched for physical proof that Bigfoot might exist. Thousands of footprints have been documented. Audio recordings have captured strange sounds echoing through remote forests. Hair samples have occasionally been analysed in laboratories. But none of this evidence has ever provided definitive proof. And yet, the mystery continues. One piece of evidence often discussed by researchers is known as the Sierra Sounds. In the 1970s, a group of investigators camping in the Sierra Nevada mountains recorded unusual vocalisations during the night. The sounds were deep, complex, and unlike anything they had heard before. Some linguists suggested the recordings contained patterns similar to language. Others believe the sounds were simply misidentified animals. To this day, the recordings remain unexplained. Whether real or not, Bigfoot has become a powerful part of modern culture. Across the United States, entire festivals are dedicated to the creature. Small towns sell Bigfoot souvenirs. Museums display plaster footprint casts. And documentaries continue to explore the mystery. The legend has grown far beyond the forests where it began. Perhaps the reason Bigfoot fascinates us so much is because it represents something deeper. A reminder that the world may still hold mysteries. That there are still places on Earth where nature remains wild. Where the forests are deep enough for something unknown to remain hidden. Whether Bigfoot is a real creature, a misidentified animal, or simply a legend shaped by centuries of storytelling, the mystery continues. Because sometimes the idea that something unknown might still exist is more powerful than any answer we could ever find. Before you go, don't forget to follow Beyond Haunted UK on Spotify and across social media. Every follow, every share and every message helps this community grow and keeps these stories alive. You'll find us wherever the strange and the spiritual meet. Thank you for listening.